welcome back to my class. This is Mejabin Fatima, Commerce lecturer at Eleveth High School and Junior College. So in our previous session we have completed 8th chapter in Commerce of inter first year, and today in this session we are going to start our 9th chapter in Commerce, that is Sources of Business Finance. Now let's proceed with our chapter. So now let's see the introduction of our chapter. In the previous chapter you have learned the meaning, nature, significance and classification of various sources of finance and factors that determine the selection of various sources of finance. So, he is asking that in our previous chapter we have seen about the meaning, nature, significance and classification of various sources of finance and the factors which were determining the selection of various sources of finance. Now, in this chapter we are going to discuss about the various types of institutional sources of finance and non-institutional sources of finance and international sources of finance. Let us see what is non-institutional sources of finance. A business can raise funds from various sources. Each of the sources has unique characteristics which must be properly understood so that the best available source of raising funds can be identified. There is not a single best source of funds for all organizations. Depending on the situation, purpose, cost and associated risk, a choice may be made about the sources to be used. So, every business that has to raise the funds from the various sources in order to run the business operations, and each of the sources they are having unique characteristics, and we must properly understood that unique characteristics so that the best available sources of raising funds should be identified. So, here the example is given. Now, let us see that example. If the business wants to raise funds for meeting fixed capital requirements, long-term funds may be required which can be raised in the form of owned funds or borrowed funds. So, if the business it wants the funds for meeting the fixed capital requirement, and that may be for long term as well as short term. So, for long term funds that may required and that may be raised in the form of owned funds or the borrowed funds. Similarly, the purpose is to meet the day-to-day requirement of business, the short term sources may be tapped. A brief description of sources along with their advantages and limitations is given. So, here if the business wants to meet the daily requirements, that it needs short term funds, and as well as if the business wants to meet the fixed capital requirements, then it needs long term funds. So, here the classification of non-institutional sources of finance is given. Now, let us see that. On the basis of period, sources of sources can be categorized into 3. So, they are of 3 kinds of non-institutional sources. So, the first one is long term sources which is above 5 years, and second one is medium term sources which is above 1 year, and the third one is short term sources which is below 1 year. As we have discussed that non-institutional sources are of 3 types. The first one is long term sources, which means which is above 5 years, and again it has been classified into 4 types. We can see that first one is equity shares, next one is preference shares, third one is retained earnings, and fourth one is debentures. Now, again when we will move forward towards medium term sources, we can see that again it has been classified into 3 types. The first one is public deposit, second one is loan from commercial banks, and third one is lease financing. And again the last but not least, that is short term sources, and again it has been classified into 5 types. The first one is bank credit, second one is trade credit, third one is installment credit, and fourth one is advances, and fifth one is commercial paper. So, these are the non-institutional sources of finance. Now, let us see each of them in detail. Let us see what is long term sources of finance. The capital obtained by issue of shares is known as share capital. The capital of a company is divided into small units called shares. Each share has its nominal value. For example, a company can issue 1 lakh shares of rupees 10 each for a total value of rupees 10 lakhs. A person holding the share is known as the shareholder. There are 2 types of shares normally issued by a company. These are equity shares and preference shares. The money raised by issue of equity share is called equity share capital, while the money raised by issue of preference share is called preference share capital. So, whatever the capital which is obtained by issuing of shares is known as share capital, and the capital of the company or the net capital of the company will be divided into small units, and each unit will be termed as share, and that shares will be issued by the company. Here the example is given. If a company can issue 1 lakh shares of rupees 10 each for a total value of 10 lakhs, then the person who is holding the share is known as the shareholder. And there are two types of shares which are issued by the company. The first one is equity share and the next one is preference shares. So, the money which is raised by issuing equity share is called as equity share capital, while the money which is raised by issue of preference shares is called as preference share capital. Let us see some points about equity shares. Equity shares are the most important sources of raising long-term capital by a company. Equity shares are also known as ordinary share, represent the ownership of a company, that thus the capital raised by issue of such shares is known as ownership capital or owner's fund. So, these equity shares, they are the important source of raising long-term capital by a company, and these equity shares again they are also known as ordinary shares, which represents the ownership of the company. Equity share capital is a prerequisite to the creation of a company. Equity shareholders do not get a fixed dividend but are paid on the basis of earning of the company. So, here in the equity shares we can see that these holders, they do not get the fixed dividend but they are paid on the basis of earnings by the company. So, whatever the earnings of the company will be, then according to that these shareholders will be given their shares. They are referred to as residual owners since they receive what is left after all other claims on the company's income and assets have been settled. They enjoy the reward as well as bear the risk of ownership. So, whoever are the persons who are the holders of the equity shares, they are enjoying the reward as well as risk of ownership, and their liability however is limited to the extent of capital contributed by them in the company. And these equity shareholders, they do have right to take part in the management of the company. Now, let us see some of the merits of equity shareholders. So, the first merit is, as we have discussed, equity shares do not create any obligation to pay a fixed rate of dividend. And next one is, equity shares can be issued without creating any change over the asset of the company. So, these shares can be issued without creating any charge over the asset. It is a permanent source of capital and the company need to repay it except under liquidation. So, if the company is under liquidation, then in such situation it is not permanent, except it is permanent source of capital and the company need to repay it. Equity shareholders are the real owners of the company who have the voting rights. So, whoever are the equity shareholders, they does have right to vote and to take part in the management of the company. Now, let us see what are the limitations of equity shareholders. Investors who want steady income may not prefer equity shares, as equity shares get fluctuating returns. So, as we have seen, these equity shares, they are giving the fluctuating results, due to which the investors who want to earn steadily, they cannot prefer these shares as they are giving the fluctuating returns. And the next one is, the cost of equity shares is generally more as compared to the cost of raising funds through other sources. So, whatever the cost which is taken by these equity shares to be raised, that cost is more costlier when compared to the cost of raising funds through the other sources. And the next one is, issue of additional equity share dilutes the voting power and earning of existing equity shareholders, and more legal formalities and procedural delays are involved by raising funds through issue of equity shares. So, this issuing of equity shares will require more legal formality and more procedural delays can be involved. Let us see what are preference shares. The capital raised by issue of preference shares is called preference share capital. The preference shareholders enjoy preferential position over equity shareholders in two ways. So, as the name itself is showing that the name is preference shares. So, these shareholders, they are enjoying the preferential position over the equity shareholders, and they are getting this position in two ways. The first one is receiving a fixed rate of dividend out of the net profits of the company before any dividend is declared for equity shareholders. So, they are having the fixed rate of dividend here, we can say, out of the net profits of the company. And the second one is they are receiving the capital after the claims of the company's creditors have been settled. So, after the creditors claim has been settled, these preference shareholders will receive their capital after the claims at the time of the liquidation of the company. So, in other words, when we will see, as compared to equity shareholders, the preference shareholders have a preferential claim over dividend and repayment of capital. Preference shares resemble debentures as they bear fixed rate of return. So, these preference shares, they are having the fixed rate of return, and also the dividend is payable only at the discretion of the directors and only out of profit after tax. To that extent they resemble equity shares. So, up to this point these preference shares, they are resembling the equity shareholders. Thus, we can say these preference shares have some of the characteristics of equity shares and debentures, and preference shareholders generally do not enjoy any voting rights. So, these preference shares can be of different types. Now, let us see some of the types of preference shares. Now, again the preference shares are classified into 8 types. Now, let us see what are those types. First one is cumulative preference shares, second one is non-cumulative preference shares, third one is participating preference shares, fourth one is non-participating preference shares, fifth one is convertible preference shares, and sixth one is non-convertible preference shares, and seventh one is redeemable preference shares, and eighth one or last one is irredeemable preference shares. So, these are the types of preference shares. Now, let us see some of the merits of preference shares. So, the first merit is preference shares provides reasonable steady income in form of fixed rate of return and safety of investment. So, as we have seen in the introduction part of preference shares, that they are in the form of fixed rate of return and safety of investment is there. The next one is preference shares are useful for those investors who want to get fixed rate of return with comparatively low risk. So, the persons who are the investors of the company, if they want to get the fixed rate of return, then they will go for the preference shares, which is comparatively very low at risk. And the next merit is it is a superior security over equity shares. So, when we will see about the preference shares are enjoying most superiority. And the next merit is preference capital do not create any sort of charge against the asset of a company. So, these preference capital, they does not create any sort of charge which is against the asset of a company. So, besides these many advantages, preference shares are also having some limitations. Now, let us see what are those limitations. So, the first one is preference shares are not suitable for those investors who are willing to take risk and are interested in higher returns. So, mostly this is not suitable for the investors who are willing or who are ready to take the risk which are involved in business and who are mostly interested in higher returns. And next one is preference capital dilutes the claims of equity shareholders over assets of the company. And the next one is the rate of dividend on preference shares is generally higher than the rate of interest of debentures. So, when we will see the rate of dividend of preference shares it is generally higher than or when compared to the rate of interest of debentures. And as the dividend on these shares is to be paid only when the company earns profit, there is no assured return for the investors. Thus, these shares may not be very attractive to the investors. So, at last when we will see that these shares they are to be paid only when the company earns the profit. Whenever the company is earning the profit, then only these shares are paid and there is no assurance for returns to the investors. So, thus these shares may not be very attractive to the investors. Let us see some of the points about debentures. Debentures are an important instrument for raising long-term debt capital. A company can raise funds through issue of debentures. It bears a fixed rate of interest. The debenture issued by a company is an acknowledgement that the company has borrowed a certain amount of money which it promises to repay on a future date. Debenture holders are therefore termed as creditors of the company. So, here we can see that these debentures they are the important instrument for raising long-term debt capital and the company can raise their funds through issuing the debentures and it bears the rate of interest and these debentures they are issued by the company. They are the acknowledgement that the company has borrowed a certain amount of money and it's promising to repay back that amount in the future date, and these debenture holders, they are termed as the creditors of the company. Again we are having some classification of debentures. So, the first one is mortgage debentures, and the next one is simple debentures, third one is redeemable debenture, fourth one is irredeemable debenture, and fifth one is registered debentures. Next one is bearer debenture, and the next one is convertible debentures, and the last one is non-convertible debentures.